Happy New Year's and welcome to another edition of Seeking His Truth. I am Montreal Johnson and I'm with Pastor Howard Bowden of Leesburg Church of Christ. And today's Q&A, can one lose God's grace?
And Happy New Year to you also, audience. Good to see you, young man, again. It's been a few weeks. Interesting question. Interesting question. Is it possible for someone to lose the grace of God? Now, it's complex. The answer is somewhat complex, and it's more theological than people think. It depends on how one interprets the scriptures. For example, in the Protestant world, they basically believe that God's grace is seen as a gift. And once you receive that gift can't be earned, but at the same time, the gift can only be lost in the event of sin. In the Catholic world, on the other hand, they believe that you can receive the grace of God. It can't be earned, and you can lose it based on certain Catholic moral sins. They use Ephesians chapter 2 as the basis for that, where Paul says in verse 7 and 8 that we are saved by the grace of God, not by our own effort. Of course, it is the gift from God. Now, when I look at the question from a theological point of view, I see grace much deeper than something that's just earned, or unearned, I should say. Because, yes, God's grace is offered to all mankind, but not all mankind has God's grace. There has to be an acceptance to the offering, and the acceptance has to be on the basis of what the scriptures teach. I know that to be true because the Apostle Paul takes the word grace from its adjective form and translates it to the young preacher Titus in form of a noun. And here's what he says. He says that when grace came, he came to teach us how to live righteously, soberly, and godly, of course, in this present age. Now, when you look at grace from a theological point of view, you look at grace purely from the scripture, you have a two-headed monster. You have grace in an adjective form where God decides, because of man's failure, that he would offer man a way back to him. And then you have on the subjective and the noun side, grace speaking specifically of Jesus. So Jesus was the gift that God offered. And so when that offering is made, then there has to be subsequently an acceptance. And in theological terms, that's called a covenant. So just because God gives man or offers man grace, that doesn't mean that man has that grace. And so therefore, he has really nothing to lose. Now, to specifically answer the question, can you lose it? I believe you can. I believe you can. And I believe you can on the basis of what Jesus' best friend said in 1 John chapter 5, or chapter 1, where he says, if we walk in the light as he himself is light, then, that's the key, then we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus continues to cleanse us from unrighteousness. Now, if I'm not walking toward the light, if I've turned my back against the light, then grace no longer has any real covenantal work in me. She's got to tell me how long to go, because I'll talk till my head is blue. So it is an interesting question, and it has to be understood that when Christmas came and I brought a gift down the chimney, that gift did you no good if you did not accept the gift. And subsequently, it didn't do you any good if you didn't unwrap the gift. Well, when you think of God's grace in those terms, that's exactly what's being said. Now, a lot of people will open up the box, they'll open up the gift, and they'll re-gift it because they didn't like it. So therefore, they no longer have the gift. Well, I think in terms of theology, the tenets of the teachings of Jesus have to be maintained, have to be worked out. There's another text where Paul says, work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. So it leaves us with the thought that while grace is something permanently offered, it can be temporarily or permanently lost. And so can we lose the grace of God? Absolutely. But it's something that we have to do. It's not something that God does. That's my offer for the question. Hopefully that answers and will generate more questions. Always willing to ask it or answer as many as I can receive questions for. Jamal, and you keep doing what you're doing, and God will keep doing what He's doing, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing, and we'll see each other on the other side in the eternities. God bless you. I appreciate the question.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching it and joining. If you have any comments, feel free to leave those comments. You can leave those comments on Facebook, or you can leave it on the YouTube. That's Leesburg, lowercase c, O, capital C. Thank you.